Now, an integral player in the process leading up to the IPO for the Kenya Pipeline Company is the Privatization Authority, a corporate entity that has been established under the Privatization Act 2025 and mandated to regulate, to manage, and to implement Kenya's privatization program. That's why we are here at their offices and with none less than the Managing Director, Dr. Janerose Omondi. Thank you for allowing us to come into your office and disrupt your day.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Welcome to the authority.
Asante. We'd just to see where the process is at, where you fit in all this, because I know you are doing a lot of crossing T's and dotting I's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to my office, okay, so that we can have a seat and have a chat.
Sure. Asante,
Thank you. Thank you. So, welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
We can now have the conversation.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this, and
Yes.
thank you for giving us some time in your schedule. I know it's very busy, especially now in the lead up to the Kenya Pipeline Company's IPO as a privatization authority. Just explain to us how you come in the process. Was it from the onset of the announcement? Will you go silent after the bell rings, or will your mandate still continue even after?
So now, to just take you a bit back.
Yeah.
So the mandate of the authority, as you rightfully said, is to implement Kenya's privatization program. So Kenya Pipeline Company is one of those entities on this program. And therefore, we came in immediately that program was published. However, because of various issues that have passed in between, we were not able to implement it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So we only do it at the point that the company is ready, and that is when the government feels like it is ready to go. We are the ones that take the proposal in terms of what method is to be applied
Mm-hmm.
to the cabinet for approval.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that cabinet approves, then it is taken to the National Assembly. And once the National Assembly approves, then the authority implements that proposed method.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the ones who kicked off that method.
Okay.
Of course, the method is one of the methods provided for in our Act, the Privatization Act 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the most preferred. Why is it the most preferred? Because it is all-encompassing. It brings in many investors, and the public has a chance to also participate.
And to own in the process
Yes.
as well. And even in the shares in the future of
Yes.
KPC.
Yes.
If you could just help us appreciate where we are in the process and how far are we to go?
We are through the approval processes.
Okay.
That paved the way for us to start the implementation. So the beginning of the implementation is bringing on bond transaction advisors,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a requirement under the CMA regulations that we bring in transaction advisors. So we onboarded transaction advisors who have gotten in, they have done their due diligence, and we are almost coming to the tail end.
Okay.
Part of that due diligence is to just check that the company is ready for listing. And key among the outputs for these transaction advisors is a proposal on how the shares will be allocated to different sectors of the economy. And one of them is institutional investors, local and foreign,
Mm-hmm.
retail investors, local and foreign, employees of the company, and retail investors actually speaks to every Kenyan,
Yes.
including the mama mboga of this country, including the borders, because this company is theirs and they need to own a stake.
And from your position as the privatization authority, it is clear that the benefits are open to all, even the youth and the young who can also invest in the future of the Kenya Pipeline Company. However, in the conversation and in the anticipation of this, there is a question of loss. Privatization equals some form or aspect of loss. Do you feel this fear is valid? And how do you address it from your position?
So from conversations I've had with various Kenyans,
Yeah.
there are several fears that they express. And key among them is loss of public control. This could be true looked at from the point of view that government owns 100% of this company, and now it is ceding 65%. So that control then moves. But who does it move to? it moves to the public, because the 65% is being offered to the general mwananchi, institutions, individuals, everybody, including the huge population of the youth that we have. The youth now have an opportunity to take up to 15% stake if they have the money, and that is substantial. So control is moving from government to the normal mwananchi. The other fear that there is loss of employment. And most of the time, people have seen that when the entities are taken over, not necessarily from government to private, but even from private to private, it usually is accompanied by job losses. However, in this one here, if the company continues to operate the way it has been operating, then that fear should not be there, because the company can then only grow, because this IPO is an avenue to raise more finances, more resources into the company, and therefore the company is going to expand. And in that expansion, then we can only create more job opportunities. There is also the fear that the public will no longer oversight this company. However, the company can still be oversighted by the public. First, as part owners. Secondly, this company continues to operate in this market, and the public can hold it to account. And then finally, there has been the fear that there will be opaqueness. But listing makes a company even more transparent, because there are reporting requirements that are required. They have to publish their accounts. The management have to now sign performance contracts with the private owners. Yes, within government, they have been signing performance contracts, but remember, there is no requirement to publish their results. Now, other than that, signing those performance contracts, they have to publish their results. So their performance will be out there for everybody to see. And therefore, there will be more accountability.
So more efficiency, even.
More efficiency.
Operationalization of this. Let's speak to the benefits. Once public listing happens, who stands to benefit first, and even do the beneficiaries change from the scenario of a public entity, or rather government-owned entity, to a privatized entity? Does that change drastically, and who do you see standing to gain here?
In terms of beneficiaries, there is no change, because the beneficiaries of this company is the public. Remember, this company affects every sector of our lives. It is transporting petroleum products, and petroleum products move our economy, move our lives. In the houses, we use products of petroleum, some of them to cook as kerosene, lighting as kerosene. When we move from one place to another, the vehicles, the borders, they move because of petroleum. This product is moved by this company. So change of ownership or reduction in government ownership will not change the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries will continue to be Kenyans. Then other than that, those who are investing in this company will even benefit in terms of dividends that they will draw from this company. Remember, previously all the dividends have been going to government. But now this will be shared between the government and these owners, including the local mwananchi. Then the other beneficiaries, the other benefits that owners will get is capital growth in terms of the share price. With time, this share price is going to grow, and when they reach a time and they need to sell this investment, they will actually realize capital gains. Other than that, also we have efficiency that will be brought in by the private sector. And I'm not saying government is inefficient, but there are laws within the government that need to be followed that sometimes may not be that efficient as in public sector. Yes, they are there for good reasons, like one of them in terms of procurement, to make sure that we don't have corruption, but the private sector processes are usually faster in terms of turning around. So we will realize more efficiency. And finally, there will be growth in terms of taxes being paid to the government. When the company expands, because we will put in more resources, then there is growth in revenue, and therefore there will be growth in taxes. So the common mwananchi, even that one who has not directly invested in this company, will feel the benefits. because of more taxes.
Now, there's a lot of responsibility and weight on your shoulders as this IPO comes closer to actualizing it and seeing it as a success. And there's a potential of this decorating your resume as you look back later on and say, I was part of that.
Yes.
The Privatization Authority oversaw the process. What would mean or spell success for you?
For me, success would be, one, the shares being offered by the government are all taken up. That will be one. Two, that even after this IPO process is over, the company grows as we envisage. Three, after this, those who have invested in it get their return, because there are those who are investing in it not necessarily for now, but for the future, that they can continue to get a return far into the future, and this company continues to grow far into the future. So that when we look back, and one day when I'm retired and I'm sitting somewhere, I'll be looking back and saying, I was part of this success. For me, that will be the day that I will be saying, I did it. And it was worth it.
Granted, a lot of attention is on the IPO.
Yes.
But one thing that happens, and we've witnessed before, attention during, just before and during.
Yes.
After, there's, people move on with life. However, oversight still continues. And there is the reassurance that is needed that there's protection that can still be guaranteed and is there for the person who would want to be part of this, even in terms of investing. What reassurance do you give about their protection? And you can even borrow from the previous historical questions where the Privatization Authority, which was Privatization Commission, has intervened to make sure that they're protected.
So now we have a different law from the Privatization Act of 2005. Something that has changed significantly in this new law is that while in the previous one, we privatized and left, this new law now has given us the power to go in and assess post-privatization. How is the company doing? And then there is the regulator of this sector. Remember, the petroleum sector is very well regulated. The regulation will continue. So with the regulation in place and government now being a minority, you're sure the regulation will be real. You cannot regulate yourself. So when government was 100% owner, then they were regulating themselves, which is difficult. But now with a big chunk going to the private sector, regulation will be real. And then finally, government will continue to be a significant player. A 35% stake, that stake is still significant for government to ensure that the company operates as is envisaged in the plans that are being made as we go into the privatization. Thank you.
And as a last word, and you can add on to this as a reassurance, you can even speak to the Kenyan directly.
Yes.
Assure us that the Privatization Authority is not just giving a stamp of approval and letting things slide, as a last word.
Yes. Now, my last word to Kenyans is this, that privatization is not a question of yes or no. It's about design. There have been privatizations where we are selling to a strategic investor, a single investor. In this design here, we are putting it as an IPO, open to every Kenyan. Design is everything. If it is designed badly, then everything could go wrong because we concentrate ownership into a few and we lose trust. However, if we design it right, the way we have designed this KPC IPO, then we get it right. We have stronger oversight, we have stronger governance, we have stronger checks and balances. And with the ownership of each and every Kenyan, this company will be held to account. Therefore, I urge Kenyans, come in and invest. Thank you.
Asante sana. You've heard it from the Privatization Authority. Not only are they crossing the T's, dotting the I's, even after, they'll be there to make sure that it is above board, period.